Part 1. First Contact Protocol. Alex Rodriguez never imagined his life would change so dramatically when he accepted the position at Earth's most advanced space research station. 6 months ago, humanity had made its first official contact. With beings from another world, the news had shaken every corner of Earth, changing everything people thought they knew about life in the universe. The research station floated in the darkness of space, far from Earth's blue glow. Inside its metallic walls, scientists from around the world worked alongside visitors from a distant planet called Zephyria. These alien beings looked somewhat like humans, but with skin that seemed to glow with a soft silver light. They were taller than most people, with long, graceful arms and legs that moved like dancers. Their eyes were the most fascinating part. They changed colors based on their emotions, shifting from deep blue when calm to bright gold when excited. Alex had been chosen for this mission because of his special talent for understanding how different species communicate through body language and natural signals. He was good at reading the tiny details that others might miss, the way someone moved their hands, the rhythm of their breathing, or the subtle changes in their voice. These skills made him perfect for working with the Zephyrians. The leader of these space visitors was their queen, a magnificent being named Lirelei. She stood nearly 7 feet tall with the same glowing silver skin as her people. But there was something about her that made everyone stop and stare when she entered a room. She moved with the grace of flowing water, and her voice had a musical quality that seemed to make the air itself vibrate with harmony. At first, Alex found the queen intimidating. She was clearly intelligent and powerful. She carried herself with the confidence of someone who had ruled over millions of beings across the stars. But as weeks passed and they worked together more closely, he began to see another side of her personality. During their late-night research sessions, when most of the station was quiet and dark, Lirelei would share stories about her homeworld and her people. She told Alex about the crystal cities of Zephyria, where buildings grew like living trees and reached toward 3 different suns. She described festivals where her people would sing in perfect harmony, creating music so beautiful that it could make flowers bloom instantly. But behind these wonderful stories, Alex could sense something troubling the queen. Her eyes would dim to a sad purple color when she thought no one was looking, and sometimes her voice would carry a note of deep worry. During one of their conversations, Queen Lirelei revealed the true reason for her people's visit to Earth. The Zephyrians were facing a terrible problem that threatened their entire civilization. For generations, their population had been getting smaller and smaller. Fewer and fewer children were being born, and those who were born often struggled with serious health problems. Their scientists had discovered that their species was trapped in what they called a genetic spiral. Their DNA had become too similar over thousands of years, making it nearly impossible for healthy offspring to survive, the queen explained. This with tears in her eyes, her skin flickering between silver and a deep, mournful blue. She told Alex that Zephyrian explorers had been traveling across the galaxy for decades, searching for another species that might be genetically compatible with their own. Earth and humanity represented their last hope for survival. Alex listened to these revelations with growing amazement and sympathy. As a scientist, he was fascinated by the biological puzzle the Zephyrians faced. As a human being, he was moved by their desperate situation. He offered to help in any way he could, suggesting that he could study their genetic patterns and compare them with human DNA. To look for possible solutions, the queen accepted his offer gratefully, and their work together became even more intensive. They spent hours examining genetic codes, comparing biological systems, and discussing the complex science of how different species might theoretically work together. Alex found himself looking forward to these sessions more and more. The queen was not only beautiful and graceful, but also incredibly intelligent and curious about everything. As their research progressed, Lirelei began teaching Alex about Zephyrian culture and customs. She showed him how her people communicated, through subtle changes in their glowing skin patterns, and how they used musical tones to express emotions that had no equivalent in human language. In return, Alex taught her about human customs, explaining everything from handshakes to birthday celebrations. One evening, After weeks of working together, Queen Lirelei announced that she wanted to perform what she called a sacred bonding ritual with Alex. She explained that this was an ancient Zephyrian custom used to create trust and understanding between individuals from different backgrounds. The ritual, she said, would allow them to share knowledge more deeply and work together more effectively, Alex, thinking this was simply another cultural exchange that would help their research, agreed readily. The ritual took place in the station's observation deck, under the light of distant stars. The Queen asked Alex to stand facing her and place his hands on her shoulders while she did the same to him. Then she began to hum a low, beautiful melody that seemed to make the air around them shimmer with soft light. During the ritual, Alex felt a strange warmth flowing through his body, starting from where their hands touched and spreading throughout his entire being. The sensation was unlike anything he had ever experienced. It was as if he could feel the Queen's thoughts and emotions mixing with his own. For a few moments, he could sense her deep love for her people, her fear for their future, and her desperate hope that their collaboration might save her civilization. When the ritual ended, both Alex and the Queen seemed changed by the experience. She looked at him with an expression of deep gratitude and something else he couldn't quite identify. Her skin glowed brighter than he had ever seen it, and her eyes had taken on a warm golden color that reminded him of sunrise. Alex felt honored to have participated in what he believed was an important cultural ceremony. He thought it showed how much trust the Queen had developed in him, and he was proud that their scientific partnership had grown into such a meaningful friendship. He had no idea that this moment would soon change his life in ways he could never have imagined. The days following the ritual were filled with even more productive research sessions. The Queen seemed more energetic and optimistic than before, and their scientific discoveries were advancing rapidly. Alex felt like they were on the verge of a breakthrough that could help both species understand each other better and possibly solve the Zephyrians' population crisis through advanced medical techniques. He went to sleep that night, feeling satisfied with their progress and looking forward to continuing their important work. He had no way of knowing that the bonding ritual he had participated in was about to lead to consequences that would shake the foundations of both human and Zephyrian civilization. The seeds of an extraordinary future had been planted, and soon, everything Alex thought he knew about his life and his place in the universe would be turned completely upside down. 3 weeks had passed since the bonding ritual, and Alex couldn't shake the feeling that something was different. At first, he thought it was just his imagination, but as the days went by, the changes became impossible to ignore. Queen Lirelei seemed transformed in ways that both fascinated and puzzled him. Her silver skin, which had always carried a gentle glow, now shimmered with an intensity that made her look like she was lit from within. When she walked through the corridors of the space station, other crew members would stop and stare, drawn to the beautiful light that seemed to dance across her features. Even more interesting was the soft humming sound that seemed to follow her everywhere she went, not a sound she was making with her voice, but something that appeared to come from her very being. Alex found himself studying these changes with scientific curiosity mixed with growing concern. During their research sessions, he noticed that the Queen's eyes stayed in their warm, golden state much longer than before. Previously, her eye colors had shifted constantly with her emotions, but now they seemed locked in this sunrise hue that made her look perpetually happy and content. Her behavior had changed too, or once she had been focused and businesslike. During their meetings now, she seemed distracted and dreamy. She would pause in the middle of sentences to touch her stomach gently, a small smile playing on her lips. When Alex asked if she was feeling well, she would just nod and change the subject. But he could see something important was happening that she wasn't sharing. The other Zephyrian delegates had begun acting strangely around their queen as well. They would bow more deeply when she passed, and Alex caught them whispering together in their musical language, their eyes flickering with excitement. Whatever was happening, it seemed like everyone except Alex understood its significance. Unable to contain his curiosity and growing worry any longer, Alex decided to ask the Queen directly about the changes he was observing. He approached her after their regular research session, when the laboratory was quiet and empty. "Queen Lirelei," he began carefully, I hope you don't mind me asking, but I've noticed some changes in you lately. As a scientist and as your friend, I want to make sure you're healthy and everything is okay." The queen looked at him with those constantly golden eyes, and for a moment, her entire being seemed to glow even brighter. She was quiet for a long time, as if weighing her words carefully. Finally, she spoke in a voice that carried notes of joy, nervousness, and something deeper that Alex couldn't identify. "Alex," she said, "there is something very important I must tell you. Something that will change everything between us and between our peoples. Would you meet me tonight at the observation deck? Under the stars where we perform the bonding ritual." Alex agreed, though a strange feeling settled in his stomach. The queen's tone suggested this was much more serious than their usual scientific discussions. He spent the rest of the day trying to focus on his work, but his mind kept drifting to their upcoming conversation. What could be so important that it required such a formal setting? That evening, Alex made his way to the observation deck. The vast window showed the endless expanse of space, with stars twinkling like diamonds against the black canvas of the universe. Queen Lirelei was already there, standing with her back to him, her glowing form reflected in the glass. She seemed to be gathering courage for something difficult. When she turned to face him, Alex was struck by how beautiful and vulnerable she looked. Her usual regal composure was still there, but underneath it, he could see uncertainty and hope battling for control of her emotions. "Alex," she began, her voice carrying a musical tremor, "what I am about to tell you may seem impossible. May anger you, confuse you, or frighten you. But I must speak the truth, for both our sakes and for the future of our peoples." She paused, taking a deep breath that made her skin pulse with light. 3 weeks ago, when we performed the bonding ritual, something extraordinary happened, something that has never occurred between a Zephyrian and a being from another world. Alex felt his heartbeat quicken. "What do you mean?" The queen placed both hands on her stomach, and her golden eyes seemed to shine even brighter. "Alex, I am carrying a child. Your child?" The bonding ritual was not just a ceremony of trust, as I let you believe. In Zephyrian culture, it is our method of creating new life with someone whose genetic pattern is compatible with our own. The words hit. Alex, like a physical blow, stumbled backward, his mind struggling to process what he had just heard. "What? That's impossible. We're different species. We can't." "That can't happen." "But it has happened," Lirelei said gently. "Our scientists have been studying your genetic patterns for months, ever since we arrived. You were chosen not just for your communication skills, but because our scanners identified you as the most compatible human on this station. The ritual we performed allowed our biological systems to combine and create something new, a being that will carry traits from both our species." Alex felt like the floor had disappeared beneath his feet. Everything he thought he knew about his relationship with the queen, about their work together, about the trust he thought they had built, all of it suddenly felt like a lie. "You deceived me," he whispered, his voice barely audible. "I thought you understood," Lirelei replied, her skin flickering with distress. "Your scientific knowledge, your willingness to participate. The way you responded to the ritual, I believed you knew what we were doing. In my culture, such a bonding is only performed when both parties fully consent and understand its purpose. I thought it was just a cultural ceremony." Alex's voice rose with hurt and confusion. "You let me believe it was about trust and friendship. You used me for some kind of experiment." "No." The queen's voice filled with pain, her skin shifting to deeper blues and purples. "It was never an experiment. Alex, you must understand, my people are dying. Every year, fewer children are born and fewer still survive. When our scientists discovered that human genetic patterns could potentially save our species, it became more than just scientific curiosity. It became hope for our survival." She stepped closer to him, her eyes pleading for understanding. "But beyond that, Alex, I chose you not just for genetic compatibility. During our weeks of working together, I came to respect your mind, your kindness, your dedication to helping others. If I must create a child to save my people, I wanted that child to have the best qualities of both species, and I believe you possess those qualities." Alex ran his hands through his hair, trying to process the magnitude of what he was hearing. A child, he repeated slowly. You're telling me that I'm going to be a father to some kind of hybrid being? A child who could bridge the gap between our worlds? Lireley confirmed. A being who might possess the intelligence and adaptability of humans combined with the advanced abilities of Zephyrians? Our medical scans suggest this child will have capabilities neither species has ever seen. Enhanced mental abilities, possibly telepathic gifts, and the potential to understand both our cultures instinctively. The revelation was overwhelming. Alex felt anger at being deceived, fear about the unknown consequences, and confusion about his role in something so much larger than himself. But underneath all those emotions, there was something else. A tiny spark of curiosity about what this child might be like and what it might mean for the future of both species. What happens now? He asked finally, his voice hoarse with emotion. Now, the Queen said softly, we must decide how to move forward. This child will need both of us, Alex. It will need your human perspective and my Zephyrian heritage. But more than that, both our peoples will look to this child as a symbol of hope and cooperation. The decisions we make in the coming months will shape the future of two entire civilizations. Alex looked out at the stars, feeling smaller and more overwhelmed than ever before in his life. Somewhere out there was Earth, his home planet, where people were just beginning to accept the reality of alien contact. How would they react to news of the first human-alien hybrid? And here on the space station, how would this change everything they were trying to accomplish? As he stood there in the starlight, with Queen Lireley glowing beside him and carrying his child, Alex realized that his quiet life as a research scientist was over forever. Whether he was ready or not, he was about to become part of the most important story in human history. 6 weeks had passed since Queen Lireley dropped her bombshell announcement, and Alex felt like he was living in a completely different world. Sleep came rarely now, and when it did, his dreams were filled with images of glowing children and the weight of two entire civilizations resting on his shoulders. The secret he carried felt heavier with each passing day. After days of internal struggle, Alex made a decision that would change everything. He couldn't handle this alone anymore. Dr. Rebecca Torres had been his closest friend on the research station for over 2 years. She was the head medical officer, brilliant, trustworthy, and someone who had always given him honest advice when he needed it most. If anyone could help him understand what was happening and what it might mean, it would be Rebecca. He found her in the medical bay late one evening, reviewing patient files under the soft blue light of her desk lamp when he knocked on her office door. She looked up with a tired but welcoming smile. "Alex, you look terrible," she said with the blunt honesty that made her such a good friend. "When's the last time you actually slept through the night?" Alex closed the door behind him and sat down across from her desk. "Rebecca, I need to tell you something that's going to sound completely crazy. But I need you to promise me you'll keep this between us until we figure out what to do." The serious tone in his voice made Rebecca put down her files and give him her complete attention. "Of course, what's going on?" Alex took a deep breath and told her everything. Described the bonding ritual, the Queen's revelation, and the growing evidence that something unprecedented was happening aboard their station. As he spoke, Rebecca's expression shifted from concern to amazement to professional fascination. When he finished, Rebecca was quiet for a long moment, her medical mind processing the implications. "Alex," she said slowly, "if what you're telling me is true, we're looking at the most important biological event in human history. We need to start monitoring the Queen's condition immediately." Together, they began secretly tracking Queen Lireley's pregnancy. What they discovered was both fascinating and alarming. The pregnancy was progressing at a rate unlike anything seen in human medicine. Where human pregnancies develop over 9 months, the Queen's condition was advancing at nearly 3 times that speed. Within weeks, they could already detect significant changes in her physiology, using advanced scanning equipment during late-night sessions when the medical bay was empty. Rebecca discovered that the developing child was exhibiting characteristics that defied current scientific understanding. To brain activity patterns showed complexity far beyond normal human or Zephyrian development. The child's genetic structure seemed to be actively adapting and evolving. incorporating beneficial traits from both species in real time. But these discoveries brought new concerns. Rapid development was putting enormous strain on Queen Liralei's body. Her glowing skin, once beautiful and mesmerizing, now sometimes flickered with what Alex recognized as signs of exhaustion. She tried to hide her discomfort, but he could see the way she pressed her hand to her side when she thought no one was looking, and how she sometimes paused to catch her breath during their conversations. The situation became more complicated when the other Zephyrian delegates began acting differently around, where they had once treated him as a respected colleague. Now they showed him a level of reverence that made him deeply uncomfortable. They would bow when he entered a room, speak to him in formal, respectful tones, and defer to his opinions on matters where he had no expertise. One of the younger Zephyrian scientists, named Kale, eventually explained the change during a private conversation. "Alex," he said, his skin glowing with excitement, "you must understand what you represent to our people. You are now bonded to our queen, carrier of the air that may save our entire civilization. In our culture, this makes you essentially royal. You are no longer just a human scientist. You are family to the royal house of Zephyria." This revelation horrified Alex. He had never wanted power or status, was a scientist who enjoyed quiet research and solving puzzles. The idea that an entire alien civilization now viewed him as some kind of prince or future king made him want to hide in his quarters and never come out. Things got worse when communications from Earth began changing. The government officials who regularly checked in with the space station started asking pointed questions about the Zephyrian delegation's extended stay and the unusual diplomatic developments they had heard rumors about. Alex realized that information was leaking, and it was only a matter of time before Earth's leaders demanded full disclosure. Meanwhile, messages from the Zephyrian Empire shifted from scientific cooperation to discussions about the coming unity and the blessed convergence of species. Alex began to understand that both governments were making plans for his child without consulting him. The baby hadn't even been born yet, and already it was becoming a political symbol rather than just a child who would need love and care. The stress of keeping this secret while watching Queen Liralee struggle with her pregnancy began taking its toll on Alex. He found himself snapping at colleagues, making mistakes in his research, and spending hours staring out at the stars, wondering how his life had gotten so complicated. Rebecca became his anchor during this time, helping him process his emotions while they worked together to monitor the Queen's health. During one of their secret medical sessions, Rebecca made a discovery that changed everything. The pregnancy wasn't just unusual, it was becoming dangerous. The hybrid nature of the child was creating complications that neither human medicine nor Zephyrian healing techniques could fully address. The baby's rapid development was requiring more energy and resources than the Queen's body could safely provide. "Alex," Rebecca said one night as they reviewed the latest scans, "I'm seeing signs of severe stress on the Queen's cardiovascular system. Her body is working overtime to support a pregnancy that's developing at an impossible rate. If we don't find a solution soon, we could lose both mother and child."
Alex.
The news hit Alex like a punch to the stomach. Despite his complicated feelings about how the pregnancy had come about, he had grown to care deeply about Queen Liralee. Seeing her struggle and knowing that his child might be the cause of her suffering filled him with guilt and determination in equal measure. He also realized that his feelings toward the Queen herself had evolved. What had started as anger and betrayal had slowly transformed into something more complex. He found himself admiring her strength as she faced each day with dignity, despite her discomfort. Her dedication to her people and her genuine care for the welfare of the unborn child impressed him. Even her initial deception began to make sense when he considered the desperate situation her species faced. The breaking point came during a routine diplomatic meeting. Queen Liralee was addressing both human and Zephyrian representatives about future cooperation projects when she suddenly stopped mid-sentence. Her glowing skin flickered like a light bulb about to burn out, and she swayed on her feet. Before anyone could react, she collapsed to the floor unconscious. The room erupted in chaos. Zephyrian delegates rushed to their queen's side, their skin flashing with colors of panic and distress. Human crew members backed away, unsure of how to help or what was happening. In that moment of crisis, Alex faced a choice that would define the rest of his life. He could maintain his distance, let the Zephyrian medical team handle their queen, and continue to protect himself from further involvement in this cosmic drama. Or he could step forward, claim his place as the father of her child, and take responsibility for the situation he found himself in. Looking at Queen Lyralei's still form on the floor, her beautiful silver skin now dim and worried, Alex realized that his choice had already been made. Regardless of how this pregnancy had begun, regardless of the political implications and the pressure from both governments, there was now a woman carrying his child who needed help. And there was a baby, his baby, whose life hung in the balance. Alex pushed through the crowd of delegates and knelt beside the queen. "Get her to the medical bay," he ordered, with an authority he didn't know he possessed. "Rebecca, prepare for emergency treatment. Everyone else give us space to work." As they carefully moved Queen Lyralei to the medical facility, Alex caught sight of his reflection in the corridor window. He looked like a different person than the quiet scientist who had arrived at the station months ago. His eyes held a determination and sense of purpose that hadn't been there before. Whether he was ready or not, he was no longer just Alex Rodriguez, the researcher. He was about to become Alex Rodriguez, the father of the most important child in galactic history. 3 months had passed since Queen Lyralei's collapse in the diplomatic meeting, and Alex's world had completely transformed. The moment he had stepped forward to help save her, everything changed. He was no longer just observing this incredible situation, he was living it, breathing it, and taking responsibility for it in ways he never imagined possible. The medical crisis had brought Alex and the Queen closer together in unexpected ways. During her recovery, he had spent countless hours by her bedside, monitoring her condition and talking with her about everything from Zephyrian poetry to human music. What surprised him most was how easy it had become to talk with her. The formal barriers between alien queen and human scientist had melted away, replaced by something that felt remarkably like friendship, and maybe something deeper, working alongside both human and Zephyrian medical experts. Alex had thrown himself into understanding the unique challenges of their hybrid child. The baby, whom the medical team had started calling Bridge because of its potential to connect to species, continued to develop at an incredible pace. Every day brought new discoveries that amazed and sometimes worried the entire medical team. Rebecca had become his partner in this scientific adventure. Together they made breakthrough after breakthrough. They discovered that Bridge's neural development was unlike anything ever recorded. Brain scans showed patterns of activity that suggested the child would possess intelligence far beyond normal human or Zephyrian capabilities. The baby's genetic structure continued to evolve during development, somehow selecting the best traits from both species and combining them in ways that shouldn't have been biologically possible. "Alex, look at this," Rebecca said one evening as they reviewed the latest scans. Her voice carried the excitement of a scientist making an incredible discovery. "Bridge's brain is developing regions that don't exist in either human or Zephyrian anatomy. It's like the child is creating entirely new capabilities as it grows." The scans showed neural pathways that seemed designed for processing multiple forms of communication simultaneously. The medical team theorized that Bridge might be born with natural telepathic abilities, the capacity to understand both human and Zephyrian languages instinctively, and problem-solving skills that could advance both civilizations by decades or even centuries. But these amazing developments came with enormous pressure from both governments. Earth's leadership had finally learned about the pregnancy, and their reactions ranged from excitement about the scientific possibilities to fear about the security implications. Some officials saw Bridge as humanity's greatest achievement, while others worried about creating a being that might be more loyal to alien interests than human ones. The situation became even more complex when Alex learned about his new status in Zephyrian society. During one of his conversations with Queen Lyralei, she explained something that made his head spin with disbelief. Alex, she said, her skin glowing with warm golden light, there is something about our bonding that you must understand. In Zephyrian culture, when the queen bears a child with someone, that person becomes part of the royal bloodline. You are no longer considered an outsider, or even just an ally. You are family. The implications of this revelation were staggering. The other Zephyrian nobles had begun treating Alex as if he were their future king. They consulted him on decisions about their delegation, sought his approval for communications with their home world, and included him in discussions about military strategy and interstellar politics. "I don't want to be a king," Alex told Lirelei. During one of their private conversations, "I'm a scientist. I study things. I don't rule people or make decisions that affect entire civilizations." Queen Lirelei looked at him with understanding but also with gentle firmness. "Sometimes, Alex, we don't get to choose the roles that life gives us. What matters is how we handle the responsibilities we're given. You may not want to be a king, but you're already a father to the most important child in galactic history. That comes with duties, whether you accept them or not." As Queen Lirelei's pregnancy progressed into its final phase, Alex found himself facing pressure from an unexpected source. Earth's military leaders had begun making demands about the baby's future. They wanted guarantees that Bridge would be raised primarily on Earth, educated in human institutions, and trained to serve human interests first. Some even suggested that the child should be studied extensively to understand how to replicate its abilities in other humans. These demands made Alex furious. "This is my child we're talking about," he told the Earth officials during a heated video conference. "It's not some weapon or tool for you to use. Bridge deserves to have a normal childhood and the right to choose their own future." But the pressure from Earth paled in comparison to what was happening on the Zephyrian side. Messages from their empire spoke of Bridge as the blessed heir and the salvation of Zephyria. Plans were already being made for the child's coronation ceremony, royal education, an eventual role in leading the Zephyrian people to a new golden age. Alex felt trapped between two civilizations that both wanted to claim his child for their own purposes. The baby hadn't even been born yet, but Bridge was already being treated more like a political symbol than a person who would need love, guidance, and the freedom to discover their own identity. During this stressful time, Alex found unexpected comfort in his growing relationship with Queen Lirelei. Their conversations had evolved far beyond scientific discussions or formal diplomatic exchanges. She told him about her childhood on Zephyria, her fears about being a good mother, and her dreams for what their child might accomplish. In return, Alex shared stories about growing up on Earth, his love of discovering new things, and his hopes that Bridge would inherit curiosity and kindness along with incredible abilities. One evening, as they sat together in the observation deck watching the stars, Queen Lirelei made a confession that changed everything between them. "Alex," she said softly, her skin glowing with colors he had learned meant deep emotion, "I must tell you something that I have been afraid to say. When I first chose you for the bonding ritual, it was purely for the survival of my people. As we have worked together, as I have watched you care for me and worry about our child, something unexpected has happened." She paused, her eyes shifting to a warm purple that Alex now recognized as her color for vulnerability. "I have come to care for you in ways that have nothing to do with duty or the future of my species. What began as necessity has become something much more personal and precious to me." Alex felt his heart racing as he processed her words. Over the past months, he had been fighting similar feelings. Despite the complicated circumstances of their relationship, despite the political pressure and the impossible situation they faced, he had grown to genuinely care about Lirelei as a person, not just as the mother of his child. "I care about you too," he admitted, surprised by how natural the words felt. "I never expected that, given how all this started. But watching you handle everything with such grace, seeing how much you care about our child and both our peoples, you're an incredible person, Lirelei." Their relationship had evolved into something neither of them had planned or expected. What started as a biological necessity had grown into genuine affection and mutual respect. But even as they grew closer personally, the pressure from their respective governments continued to mount. The breaking point came when hostile alien forces attacked a Zephyrian outpost near their home system. The news reached their space station through emergency communications that filled the Zephyrian delegates with panic and despair. These attackers, known as the Vorthan Empire, had been threatening Zephyrian territory for years, and now they were taking advantage of the Queen's absence to launch a major assault. Suddenly, both Earth and Zephyria were looking to bridge not just as a symbol of cooperation, but as a potential military asset in a growing interstellar conflict. The child was still months away from being born, but already both civilizations were discussing how Bridge's unique abilities might help them defend against this new threat. Alex watched in horror as his unborn child became the center of military planning sessions and strategic discussions. The innocent baby he and Lirelei were expecting was being transformed into a weapon before it had even taken its first breath. Standing in the observation deck one night, holding Lirelei's hand as they watched the stars together, Alex realized he faced an impossible choice. He could accept his role as a bridge between civilizations and help guide the military alliance that both species seemed to want. Or he could try to find a way to give his child a chance at a normal life, away from the cosmic politics and interstellar warfare that threatened to define Bridge's entire existence. Either way, Alex knew that the quiet life he had once lived as a research scientist was gone forever. He was now at the center of the most important story in galactic history. And every decision he made would affect not just his own family, but the future of multiple civilizations across the stars. 5 months had passed since Queen Lirelei's shocking announcement, and the day everyone had been waiting for and dreading had finally arrived. The space station buzzed with nervous energy as both human and Zephyrian medical teams prepared for the most important birth in galactic history. Alex stood outside the specially constructed medical facility, his hands shaking slightly as he watched technicians make final adjustments to equipment that combined the best of both civilizations' medical knowledge. The room looked like something from a science fiction movie, with glowing Zephyrian healing crystals positioned alongside advanced human monitoring devices. Everything had been designed specifically for this moment, the birth of the first human Zephyrian. Hybrid Rebecca emerged from the medical bay, her face showing both excitement and concern. "Alex, we're ready," she said softly. "Queen Lirelei is asking for you. She wants you with her when the baby is born." Taking a deep breath to steady his nerves, Alex entered the medical facility. Lirelei lay on a specially designed bed that could adjust to her unique physiology. Her silver skin was glowing more intensely than he had ever seen it, pulsing with waves of light that seemed to match her heartbeat. Despite the obvious discomfort she was experiencing, she smiled when she saw him enter the room. "Alex," she said, reaching out her hand toward him. "I'm glad you're here. Our child should meet both parents the moment they enter this world." Alex took her hand, feeling the warm energy that always seemed to flow between them when they touched. "How are you feeling?" he asked, though he could see from her rapid breathing and the way her skin flickered between colors that she was experiencing intense sensations. "It's unlike anything I expected," she replied, her voice carrying both wonder and strain. "I can feel our child's thoughts mixing with mine. They're aware, Alex. They know they're about to be born, and they're excited to meet us." The medical team worked around them with quiet efficiency. Rebecca monitored the human-style readings, while Zephyrian healers chanted softly, their voices creating harmonious sounds that seemed to ease Lirelei's discomfort. The birth process was unlike anything the medical staff had ever witnessed, involving not just physical delivery, but also a complex mental connection between mother and child. As the hours passed, Alex found himself amazed by Queen Lirelei's strength and determination. She guided him through Zephyrian birthing traditions, explaining how their species viewed the arrival of new life as a sacred moment that connected the baby not just to its parents, but to the entire community and the cosmos itself. "In our culture," she explained, during a quiet moment between contractions, "a child's birth is when their soul fully joins with their physical form. The first breath they take contains the essence of their destiny and their connection to all life in the universe." The moment of birth finally arrived with a burst of light that filled the entire medical bay. As their daughter emerged into the world, Alex felt his breath catch in his throat. The baby was absolutely beautiful with features that perfectly blended both her parents. She had Alex's human facial structure and expressions, but her skin carried Liralay's gentle silver glow. Most striking of all were her eyes. They were already open and alert, shifting through colors that seemed to reflect her emotions and thoughts. "She's perfect," Alex whispered, tears streaming down his face as Rebecca carefully placed the newborn in his arms. The baby looked directly at him with those color-changing eyes, and for a moment, Lex could swear he felt her thoughts touching his mind, a sense of recognition, love, and curiosity about this new world she had entered. Queen Liralay, exhausted, but radiant with joy, suggested they name their daughter Luna Zara Luna, for the human tradition of naming children after celestial bodies, and Zara, meaning bright star, in the Zephyrian language. The name seemed perfect for a child who would serve as a bridge between worlds. In the days following Luna's birth, Alex discovered that parenthood was everything he had heard it would be, and more. The baby was remarkably alert for a newborn, her eyes constantly moving to track sounds and movements around her. Medical scans revealed that her brain activity was unlike anything ever recorded, with neural pathways that seemed to be developing at an accelerated rate. Most amazingly, Luna appeared to understand both human and Zephyrian communication instinctively. When Alex spoke to her in English, she would respond with tiny sounds and expressions. When Queen Liralay sang to her in the musical Zephyrian language, Luna's skin would glow in harmony with the melody, as if she was singing along in her own way. The reaction from both governments was immediate and intense. Earth's leaders wanted detailed reports about Luna's capabilities and development. They spoke of educational programs designed specifically for her, research opportunities that could benefit all humanity, and the potential military applications of her unique abilities. The Zephyrian Empire was equally demanding. Messages arrived, daily speaking of Luna as the prophesied child who would lead their people to a new golden age. Plans were already being made for her royal education, her eventual coronation as heir to the Zephyrian throne, and her role in defending their civilization against external threats. But in the quiet moments when it was just Alex, Liralay, and Luna together, these grand plans seemed less important than the simple miracle of watching their daughter discover the world around her. Alex loved the way Luna would reach toward bright objects with perfect coordination, how she seemed to recognize his voice and calm down when he held her, and the way her skin would glow with contentment when both her parents were near. One of these peaceful moments, as Luna slept peacefully between them, Queen Liralay made an admission that surprised Alex. "You know," she said softly, "when this all began, I thought I was creating a child to save my people. But now, holding her and seeing how she brings us together, I realize I've discovered something I never expected to find." "What's that?" Alex asked, gently stroking Luna's tiny hand. "Love," Liralay replied simply. "It's not just for Luna, but for you, for the life we're building together, for the possibility of a future where our peoples can truly unite as equals, rather than just allies of convenience." Alex felt his heart swell with emotion. Over the months of Liralay's pregnancy, his feelings for her had grown from anger and confusion to respect and affection, and finally, to something much deeper. Looking at their daughter and the woman who had brought such unexpected joy into his life, he realized that his feelings had evolved into genuine love. "I love you too," he said, the words feeling natural and right. "Both of you, whatever challenges we face, whatever pressure comes from our governments, I want us to face it together as a family." The future remained uncertain and full of difficult decisions. Both Earth and Zephyria would continue to make demands about Luna's upbringing, and her role in interstellar politics. Threats from hostile alien forces meant that their daughter might grow up in a universe at war, and the simple challenge of raising a child with abilities that neither parent fully understood would require patience, wisdom, and love. But as Alex held his daughter and looked into Queen Liralay's eyes, he felt a sense of peace and purpose that he had never experienced before. Whatever came next, they would face it together. Luna would grow up knowing she was loved, and she would have the freedom to choose her own path in life, whether that led her to become a bridge between civilizations, a defender of peace, or simply a remarkable person who happened to have extraordinary parents. The quiet scientist who had once studied alien life from a distance had become part of that alien life in the most profound way possible. Alex Rodriguez was now a father, a partner to an alien queen, and a key figure in the most important alliance in galactic history. But more than any of those titles, he was simply a man who had found love and purpose in the most unexpected place. Imaginable, in the arms of his family, under the light of distant stars,